Welcome to episode 2 of Stick to Sports. I'm Connor Sangus.
I'm Mike Neckers.
I'm Sam Sozio.
And I'm Alex Chemnitzer. Today we'll take a look at everything baseball, football, and much more.
Roll it.
Guys, that's still not us, but that's all right because October is here and playoff baseball is back. The NLCS and ALCS are set as we are down to our final 4 teams. Before we talk about the current matchups, I want to go back in time last week, 2 weeks ago, and look at the matchups that got us here, starting off with the Mets and the Phillies. Connor, how do you feel about this Mets team momentum continuing into this postseason, the NLCS series?
I mean, in one word to describe the Mets, oh my God, that's actually 3. But, I mean, the Mets in Game 5 were just led by the absolute amazing performance of their team captain, Francisco Lindor, who hit a grand slam in the 6th inning to really seal the 4-1 victory over Philadelphia. Their first postseason series win at home in 24 years. I mean, in my opinion, I know we all love talking about offense here. I think the Mets are really in this position because of their 3-headed rotation monster of Manaea, Quintana, and Severino.
I completely agree with you, Connor. One of my things on my notes here is that Manaea has been pitching, especially in the second half of this season, heading into the postseason. He has looked phenomenal. I mean, basically unhittable. Against the last game of the Phillies, where they closed out the series, he had 7 innings pitched, only 3 hits, 1 earned run, and his dominance is going to be needed if the Mets are going to continue this run. Francisco Lindor, as you mentioned, but I want to highlight Mark Vientos, who is batting .563 in this postseason with an OPS of 1.674. I mean, that's unheard of. His story, he was cut from the first practice squad of the Mets, but found his way back onto the roster. He's really been the story this year.
All right, moving right over to the West Coast. In the other National League Division Series, the Los Angeles Dodgers defeated the San Diego Padres 3-2. Alex, I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on how the entire series played out?
So this series was really interesting because the Padres started this series blazing hot. I mean, they put up, in the first 3 games, they put up a combined, Game 2, they had 10 runs. First game, they had 6. Their first 2 games, they looked amazing, but they started to cool off. If this series showed me anything, it showed that the Dodgers can be super resilient this postseason, and that's something that they have lacked in multiple postseasons past. They have a banged-up They have a banged-up pitcher staff. A lot of people on the injury report, yet they continue to find ways to win games. They throw bullpen games, and they're really showing how resilient they are. Credit to Dave Roberts, their manager, in this postseason.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I mean, the Dodgers pitching got a lot better, especially in Game 5. The Padres' big 4 of Luis Arias, Fernando Tatis Jr., Jurickson Profar, and Manny Machado were all 1 for 14 in Game 5. And the Dodgers did all of that without Dustin May, Tyler Glasnow, and Clayton Kershaw, their big 3 in all of their starting rotation.
And I will just say, boys, the Dodgers have had a really, really impressive season so far. They're trying to carry the momentum into this series against the Mets, which we're going to touch on a little bit later. But it's just been a great season for them so far.
Absolutely, Mike, absolutely. Next, we move on to the American League, where we saw a thrilling 5-game series between the Tigers and the Guardians. Connor, what pushed the Guardians over the hump in Game 5?
Well, in Game 5, the Cleveland Guardians went up against the heavy favorite for the AL Cy Young, Tarik Skubal. And, I mean, Tarik Skubal coming into this game had a 28-inning scoreless streak. 17 of those innings were in the postseason, and they jumped on him. Lane Thomas hit that big grand slam to really propel them to that 7-3 victory. And Cleveland was just the deeper team, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, this whole series, I mean, this whole series has been a testament to Ace's pitching. I mean, such low-scoring games, a lot of these games with big go-ahead plays. I mean, Kerry Carpenter hit a 3-run homer in a scoreless game in Game 3, 0-0 the whole time, top of the 9th, go-ahead 3-run homer. I mean, big plays have been the difference of this series, and I love the Tigers. I love their story. I love the scrap that they showed, and it pains me to see them ultimately fall, but I thought both teams showed a lot of heart and a lot of guts.
Yeah, and the Tigers are not done. I mean, half of their roster is under the age of 20. They will be back. They have an experienced manager in A.J. Hinch, who is the brain behind all of those deep Houston Astros playoff runs. Unfortunately, lost his job due to the sign stealing scandal, but he has so much postseason experience. I 100% agree that the Tigers will be back.
Absolutely.
And finally, we saw the Yankees take down the Royals in 4 games. Alex, what are your thoughts on the resurgence of playoff Giancarlo Stanton?
Man, it is electrifying to see. It is so refreshing to see people on this Yankee squad step up and come to the plate. Stanton batted .375 in this series with an OPS of 1.32, still finding ways to get on base, walks, regardless, you name it. Just had 2 doubles, had a go-ahead home run to take the lead in Game 3. Just love to see Stanton pull through. We need to see more out of Aaron Judge. His postseason struggles continue, but for the most part, the biggest stat that jumped out to me for the Yankees in this series is their bullpen didn't allow an earned run, and that was the big question mark heading into the postseason for the Yankees, was their bullpen going to hold up? As for right now, the answer to that question is yes, so I'm just hoping that continues. Also, last point I want to add is that the first game of this series had the most lead changes in postseason history for a game with 5. And I find that really hard to believe. That just shows you the guts between these 2 teams through this series.
Yeah, I thought the Yankees did a very good job going back to the bullpen. That combination of Holmes and Weaver as an 8-9, now that the Yankees have moved Clay Holmes away from the high-pressure closing situation, they've really told him to start throwing his sinker right down the middle because it'll sink, and it's 98 miles an hour. Not that many guys can make contact with it, and if they do, it's a weak ground ball.
Absolutely.
And, hey, boys, now the Yankees are in the ALCS, playing right now, but we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll shift over to Week 6 of the NFL season and get you ready for the fast break.
Would you like to try snacks from faraway lands? Or snacks with bizarre flavors? How about snacks in new ways? Or snacks you've never tried before? You don't have to go far to find these snacks. They can all be found here at Snacks on West 1st Street.
Yeah, we're walking around campus, and what do we see? All these clubs are looking.
They're looking for me.
There's hockey,
There's improv,
so much to see. So let's go try them out and see how they be. Come on and please watch.
Our embarrassments free.
Tune in to Amateurs on WTOP.
Happy Friday, Lakers, and another beautiful day here in Oswego, New York. I'm DJ Don Perone, and I'm happy that you're starting your weekend off right listening to WNYO 88.9 FM, the Laker Radio Network.
I said, darling, can you see? There's no room for us. There's no room. Now our lives are changing. Promises keep slipping. And I always knew it wasn't you. It wasn't you. Now our lives are changing. Promises keep slipping. And I always knew it wasn't you. It wasn't you.
Welcome back to Stick to Sports.
In celebration of Jerry Jones' 82nd birthday, the Cowboys lost 47-9 to the Detroit Lions, their biggest home loss since Jerry Jones became the owner of the team in 1989. And guys, see this right here? I've been a Cowboys fan my entire life. Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy, look at me. This is what happens when you embarrass a franchise, when you let us down year after year. I'm going to rip this thing in half. Connor, should I do it?
I think you should.
Actually, we're still better than the Raiders. Whatever.
Wow. Mike, my only thing is the Cowboys are supposed to be good, and they aren't, but the Raiders are known to be bad. So what's really the difference?
Fair enough. Another mediocre start to the season. But Jerry Jones insists that Mike McCarthy is here to stay. Connor, go easy on me here. What do you got?
I mean, as you said before, the worst home loss since 1988. The Cowboys this year are winless at home after being undefeated at home last season until that dreadful wild card loss to the Green Bay Packers, which we should not talk about if you're a Cowboys fan. I mean, the defense was just terrible, literally Swiss cheese. Goff is the second QB in NFL history to have a passer rating of at least 150 in back-to-back weeks. The only other QB, Drew Brees in 2018. Hall of Fame numbers.
That's an insane stat. Yeah, no, what you said with the Cowboys defense, I mean, they are ranked 30th in the league total. And the biggest thing that stands out to me is the 29th in the league run defense. I mean, they have saloon doors open every time a running back goes through. I mean, David Montgomery just got his extension, $9 million a year for 2 years. He puts up 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs also putting up 62 rushing yards. I mean, this Dallas defense looks like Swiss cheese.
Absolutely. I mean, I want to touch on the Detroit Lions a little bit. They were dominant. I mean, 49, whatever the score was. Wow, it's leaving my head right now. But literally outplayed, outmatched, and outmanned. That's all I got to say.
Well, moving on. Can somebody say dual threat duel? The Offensive Rookie of the Year favorite, Jaden Daniels, and the Washington Commanders fell to Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens 30-23 yesterday in Baltimore. After the Ravens tallied their 4th straight win, I want to ask you, Sammy, where do you think the Ravens rank in the AFC in terms of contenders?
Well, with Lamar, you're always a contender. I mean, you got a second running back who can throw the ball, maybe 50 yards. I mean, we haven't really seen that recently, but the Ravens are always going to be a contender if they have that superstar there. I mean, and their defense is pretty good too with the addition of Roquan. They're always going to be up there. I don't think they're ever going to get with the Chiefs obviously being in the AFC. I don't think they're always going to get there, but I think they're always going to be a tough match for everyone in the AFC. I'll say that.
And Sammy, you mentioned that second running back in Lamar Jackson, but let's not forget who their first is.
Oh, yeah.
Derrick Henry, the big man, has been absolutely dominant this season. He's going to keep it up, I assume. I don't see it slowing down at all.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of what you said about Derrick Henry, he leads the league with 9 touchdowns so far. I mean, some are calling it a LaDainian Tomlinson season of 2005.
I don't hate it. I don't hate that comparison.
I actually read somewhere that he, with his second touchdown of the night, he broke the record, or he tied the record for 5th place of all-time rushing touchdowns in your first 125 games. Oh, wow. The Pittsburgh Steelers had a dominant performance over the Las Vegas Raiders last night. Justin Fields was matched up against his old offensive coordinator, Luke Getsky, and showed him that he can pick up 2 rushing touchdowns and 60 yards in the run. Najee Harris finally eclipsed the 100 yards rushing and a touchdown, of course, when I have him on my bench. And in his first career start this season, Aiden O'Connell threw for 227 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Now, Mike, I wanted to ask you, how can the Steelers keep this momentum going? And what can the Raiders do to keep their heads up after this blowout loss?
Yeah, Sammy. Still a little upset about the Cowboys, but hey, we beat the Steelers, didn't we? But that's besides the point. Justin Fields has been really good on the ground. That team has struggled so much in the air. They need to figure out how to establish more of a passing game if they want to continue to succeed here. But Najee Harris, a great performance, 14 carries, 104 yards, and a touchdown. Nothing to complain on there.
TJ Watt, in my opinion, was the player of the game. He had 2 forced fumbles and 2 tackles for loss. He really put a stamp on this game.
Yeah, and in an interview, he said he's just going to find ways to disrupt the opposing offenses. This was the highest scoring game for the Steelers since December, and I thought they showed really good flashes.
Well, boys, for some reason, the NFL and Roger Goodell absolutely love putting the disastrous New York Giants offense on national television. How much fun did you guys have spending your Sunday night watching primetime Daniel Jones?
Well, Connor, I don't know if fun's the right word. I think the best way to put this game is a mid-off. I mean, 2 teams who have struggled all season long, both offensively and defensively. And to their points, neither team scored more than 17. But come on. I mean, 2 quarterbacks who both, with how much money they're making, should be performing at a much higher level than they are. I mean, Daniel Jones, $160 million. Joe Burrow, I'm not sure how much he's making, but I know it's a lot of money, a lot more than I'll ever make. And they both went around. They both finished with around 20 completions, just over 200 yards. Daniel Jones with 1 interception, Burrow with none, but neither of them threw a touchdown pass.
Yeah, no, and we saw a career-long 47-yard touchdown run from Joe Shiesty himself. I mean, that's just something that only the Giants would give up. I'm sorry, Connor. But I will say, the Giants have been showing good defensive flashes with 4 sacks and 7 tackles for a loss.
Lead the league in sacks.
I mean, Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence are nothing to sniff at. I mean, the Giants have a great defense. They just need to put some offensive offensive things together.
I actually agree completely. It was a very defensive dominated game. I feel like, and the defensive line, Dexter Lawrence can disrupt. Man, he's a great disruptor, great pass rusher. But I agree with Mike when he said it was a mid-off. That's all I can really say about that.
New York Giants.
New York Giants.
Mid.
New York Football Giants. Mid.
All right, folks. When we return, we'll intro the fast break and throw out some burning questions you won't want to miss. Stick to Sports. We'll be right back on WTOP 10.
Say, President Stanley, whenever there's bad weather, who would you turn to?
I'd turn to Storm Team 10.
No,
right
but you've
here.
got to say it like this. Storm Team 10. Say it with me. Storm Team 10.
Roll it.
Jill told me it was Kitty from Glee. Yeah, what is it?
Al Roker.
And welcome back to Stick to Sports. This week, I'll be presenting the fast break. I've got a couple of stories I'd love to hear your boys' takes on. So first things first, the Yankees have got the hopes of the fans up once again. Will they let us down like usual, or is this finally the year where they get it done? Connor, what do you think, buddy?
Well, in my opinion, this has to be the year that they get it done because it is their only season with a guaranteed Juan Soto and Aaron Judge superstar pairing. This is the most wide open their championship window has been since it originally opened in 2017 when they lost in 7 games to the Houston Astros. With your key star veterans making over $30 million a year, they're all over 30. Judge, Cole, Stanton, they're only getting older. It's got to be this year.
I completely agree with you, Connor. And I mean, when you are aggressive and you go make moves, like you go snag Jazz Chisholm at the trade deadline, you're not making those moves to, rebuild in the future. Yeah, no, their window is now. Their pitching is the best it's looked at in years. Again, like we touched on earlier in this show, their bullpen is holding out at least. I mean, Luke Weaver has really come into his own as a reliever. The last month, getting that closer job, he has shined in, and it is just remarkable to see. The Yankees have been firing on all cylinders, and they need to strike now.
Oh, absolutely. I know we don't really have much time to talk about, but I would love to see Yankees World Series. I want to see kind of a crazy take. I want to see a Yankees-Mets World Series.
Subway Series.
Who's the king of New York?
All right, well, next up, the Jacksonville Jaguars have not met their expectations so far this season, starting 1-5 and losing to Caleb Williams and the Bears 35-16 to London. Trevor Lawrence has certainly not lived up to the hype surrounding him in the past few years, and with Etienne leaving the game early and robbing my fantasy team of a win, is it time to hit the panic button, Alex? What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. A short answer, yes. I mean, the Jaguars, they have struggled immensely, obviously, through these first 6 games. As we've seen from other teams throughout different seasons where they're not afraid to pull the trigger and fire a head coach, I think over the next week or so, I think we see Doug Peterson really use the last tools that are in his arsenal to kind of, give this team a little bit of life to save his neck. But I think his head is on the chopping block for getting fired, and I really don't see him having that job in 3 weeks.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you really think about it, You paid this superstar QB amazing salary. He was once one of the highest paid, for a little bit because everyone got paid this summer. But he was one of the highest paid quarterback in the league, and he's terrible. He's putting up sorry, Connor. He's putting up Daniel Jones numbers, and I mean Daniel Jones is outperforming because I'm like neighbors, but I mean Daniel Jones and Trevor Lawrence aren't really much of a. There's not much of a difference between them in my opinion.
And last but certainly not least, actually, it might be the least, it's Deshaun Watson, guys. The Cleveland Browns are 1-5 on the season, just like the Jags, and Deshaun Watson 0 for 25 on third down conversions in his last 25 attempts. Sammy, is it safe to say he is the worst quarterback in the NFL at this given point in time?
I don't want to say worst because Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell exist, but he's definitely down there. I mean, what happened? My only question is what happened? He was on the Texans, this great QB, top 5 QB, goes to the Browns and just... I mean, you really think about it, it's terrible. I don't know what changed. What it's that he just doesn't understand the scheme. But it's been so long. He sat out the entire last year. He had the entire year to figure out the scheme, and he still hasn't. Yes, he's one of the worst QBs in the league.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, when you look at the stats, it's ugly. Cleveland is the only team that has not recorded 300 yards of offense in a single game. And among all qualified passers, Watson's QBR of 21.5 is lowest.
Yeah, the biggest thing that stands out to me, those stats are terrible. The biggest thing that stands out to me is the lack of leadership that he has in that locker room. I mean, you see Jameis Winston, the backup QB, have command of the huddle pre-game. When your backup QB is giving your guys more energy to fight than your starting QB, it divides a locker room, and I really think Deshaun Watson has lacked in that category.
I agree with you. It certainly looks like the boys are more amped up to play behind famous Jameis. We're going to take a quick break here on Stick to Sports. Thanks once again for Mike for the fast break. When we come back, the four of us will dive into extra innings. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Stick to Sports on WTOP 10.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Shine on that boy.
Look at the bling. Do we got a diamond tester on?
Yeah, that's getting bad. Yep.
10 out of 10 recommend on Yelp.
We're going to the playoffs. I can't believe I missed that. Every time I'm buzzed, I spend too much time on my phone. What? I should take your phone away. No. I'll call for a ride. Hey, why does my face look like that?
I'm playing with these new face filters.
Okay, you know what? Yep, that's mine. I'm gonna need that back. No. Kevin!
Welcome back to Stick to Sports. Now, let's get ready for another edition of Extra Innings.
Let's take a look at the standings after Week 1. As we can see, Sammy is in the lead, 3-1, followed by Mike and Alex, who are tied for second with 2-2, and I am unfortunately in the basement with a record of 1-3.
It's all right, Connor.
Let's go, baby! Sammy on top, baby!
Plenty of
Let's
picks
go!
left, bud. Plenty of picks left. All right, first up in Extra Innings is the ALCS Championship Series. Connor, who you got?
I like the Yanks in 6. I mean, they've got a better offense, better starting pitching. The main difference that all the experts are saying is bullpen. Cleveland statistically has the best bullpen in the league, as well as the best closer, but as we said before, the Yankees gave up 0 runs to the Royals in 4 games, their bullpen. So I really don't think the difference is that big, and I think the massive difference is going to be the offense, which we saw tonight as the Yankees won 5-2.
I completely agree with you. I have the Yankees in 7 winning this series. On paper, the Yankees, skill for skill, are better than the Guardians, even though the Guardians have a stud-packed lineup. I think it's going to be a battle. I think it's going to be back and forth. And like you think, I think it's going to come down to pitching as well. But the Yankees should win. Give me the Yankees in 7.
I absolutely agree. I have something called intuition. And I go with my heart. Wear my heart on my sleeve. My heart tells me the Yankees in 6.
And Sammy, I'm not going to say too much because I completely agree with you. I got the Yanks in 6. I just don't think the Guardians are going to get it done.
And up next, just 30 minutes south of Yankee Stadium, the New York Mets, whose series against the LA Dodgers is already underway. A little late to make picks, but Alex, who do you got?
I know everybody's high on the Mets. I know everybody is summoning the powers of Grimace. I'm taking the Dodgers in 7. I think the resilience against the Padres was a big factor that they showed, like I mentioned earlier. I think they just find ways to win. There's so much talent on this Dodgers roster with Ohtani, with Betts, with Freeman, with even guys like Will Smith, with Teoscar Hernandez. I think there is too much talent for this Dodgers team to fall up short, regardless of having injured pitchers.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one. I'm not much of a baseball guy. I do watch a little bit, not a huge baseball fan, but New York's New York. I mean, the Mets, much as I might not like the Mets, I want the Subway Series. I want the Subway Series too. Find out who's the real king of New York. Give me the Mets in 7.
And gentlemen, in the words of Kendallito, Connor already said it. Oh my God. No, I'm just kidding. Give me the Dodgers in 6. I don't think the Mets are going to do it. I changed my vote. Yep, I know. Sorry, guys. That's wrong on the screen. That's my bad. I changed my vote just now. Dodgers in 6.
Bit of unpredictability on the show. Well, I mean, we mentioned it earlier, Grimace. The Mets, statistically speaking, since Grimace threw out the first pitch, are the hottest team in baseball. I'm sick and tired of this disrespect on the oh my God New York Mets. I have the Mets in 7.
Fair enough. We're going to ride it out with the Cali teams because the Niners are taking on the Chiefs this coming weekend in a Super Bowl rematch. Sammy, who you got?
You ever heard the phrase history repeats itself?
I have.
History's going to repeat itself. Give me the Chiefs, man. Chiefs 27-14. I really think that with all the injuries that the Niners have, they're not going to be able to keep up with a somewhat healthy Chiefs team.
All right, and no more change picks for me, but this one might shock you all. I'm going with the Niners, 28-25. I think they're going to shock the world this weekend. I think they're going to beat the back-to-back Super Bowl champions and rain on their parade.
I like the Chiefs 27-17. The Niners are coming into this game possibly having to start their third-string rookie running back with Jordan Mason being questionable as of right now. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey dealing with Achilles tendonitis in both Achilles. Yeah. The Chiefs have a better defense, and I think we see some Mahomes magic.
I agree with you. The thing that has stood out the most for me with the Chiefs is how amazing their defense is. I mean, not to take one out of Collinsworth's book, but Mahomes is Mahomes. Andy Reid and his connection is amazing, and I just see him out-coaching Shanahan. Give me the Chiefs.
Oh, but Connor, you know that's not the only solid NFL matchup this weekend, because the undefeated Vikings are taking on the Lions, who are roaring after a 47-9 blowout win over the Cowboys. Mike, please give us your thoughts.
You know, Sammy, I think the Lions are going to do exactly what they did to the Cowboys, to the Vikings. The Vikings have been great so far this season, but I think it's going to crumble at some point. I mean, you can only do so much with the guys on that team, and I'm going to take the Lions 45-17. A blowout here.
Wow. I mean, I'm going to completely disagree with you, Mike. I'm going with the Vikings 33-30. I think this is going to be game of the week. I think this is going to be a really close game. Kevin O'Connell, in my opinion, is the coach of the year. We've said that before on the show. The Vikings are at home coming off of a bye. I think this is a perfect story for them, as well as the Aiden Hutchinson injury. This is the Lions' first defense without their star guy. I think it's going to take them a while to adjust to having not as good of a pass rush.
Absolutely. You know, you throw in a lot of issues with the Lions, like their X factor going down, which is huge. I'm going to take the Lions, though, because that high-powered offense of that dual threat of Montgomery and Gibbs, I mean, Amon-Ra, Laporta, so many weapons in that offense. I'm really excited to see how Dan Campbell and Kevin O'Connell outcoach themselves. Give me the Lions, though.
You know what? I'm not going to dwell too much on it. Give me the Vikings. I mean, Sam Darnold, he's having a great year. I think he's third in MVP voting right now. Give me the Vikings 32-21.
And boys, we got to fly through this last one. Baker Mayfield and the Bucs are taking on LaMarvelous Jackson and the Ravens. Both teams coming off a huge win. Throw your picks out there. Connor, go ahead.
I got the Ravens 35-30. LaMarvelous Jackson's 22-1 against the NFC. I think it's going to be 23-1.
Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, most combined rushing yards of a QB and running back duo in history in the first 6 games. Give me the Ravens. They just got their 4th win. They're going to get their 5th straight one.
Oh, I'm going to have to disagree. If anyone's going to take down LaMarvelous Jackson, it's going to be Baker Mayfield. Give me the Bucs 35-27.
And Baker Mayfield, so much swagger, so much style. He's going to do it 31-24, and that's going to be it, folks.
Well, that's all the time we have on this episode of Stick to Sports. Be sure to tune in next week right here on WTOP 10.